Hey everyone, in this episode we're going to discuss the film Sicario, Day of the Soldado. We're going to talk about the performances by the actors, the plot line itself, and how it stands up to the first film. This is episode 54 of the Reel-ists podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to the Reel-ists podcast. I'm Donnie.
And I'm Oscar.
And we have our producer, Ruben.
Hello.
Hello, Ruben says. And we just want to thank you guys for listening.
Yes.
Before we get started on this episode, I want to thank all of our new listeners who have never heard us before. We want to say welcome. If you don't know what this podcast is about, quickly, we basically review films and we look at certain scenes and aspects of the film and how they tie into real life. So that's what we're always kind of discussing throughout our podcast. So if it's your first time listening, thank you so much for choosing us. We really appreciate it. If you are our normal, every week listeners, thank you guys for coming back to us. We really appreciate that as well.
We know you have many podcast choices. When you said that, it was sounded just like the airlines. We thank you so much for choosing Southwest. We know you have many choices.
Wait, do they say that on the?
Yeah, when
Southwest says that, we know there's.
Yeah, when you land, or I don't know if they even when they take off, but it's just like we know you have many choices, but we thank you for choosing Southwest.
Oh, I didn't know that. See, I mean, I always fly JetBlue, so.
Oh, okay. Nice promotion. But the way you set it up sounded like we know you have many podcast choices, so we thank you for choosing the Reel-ists podcast.
Hey, I mean,
we do, but
we do. Yeah, we really do. Also, really quickly, we want to just remind everyone that we're on social media: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at the Reel-ists podcast, Team R-E-E. Oh wait, no, at Team Reel-ists. Sorry, at Team Reel-ists, Team R-E-E-L-I-S-T-S, no dash. Sorry, I have a case of the giggles right now. We were laughing before we started recording. But Oscar, you have an announcement that you want to share with everyone, right?
I need some assistance from our listeners, if possible. So I am participating in the new app that's just been launched. I think it's been out for a while now. But it's called Clap It. And essentially it's for upcoming actors who want to get an opportunity to get into the big name movies. What directors and casting directors essentially require just kind of like a 20-second audition. And it gets voted by people who download, and it's kind of like a thumbs up, like a YouTube thumbs up, but they call it that you clap it. You applaud the video, I guess, in that sense. So, yes, if everyone can help me out, I will be putting up a video. Just search my name, Oscar Rivera. There'll be more details in a Twitter post when it's the podcast episodes come out on Thursday or today, whichever you're listening to as. But yes, more detailed in terms of what you need to do. But essentially, just download the Clap It app, create a profile. You can sign in with Facebook or Twitter. And then just go to my video and support it. Just clap it. Sounds so weird, but yeah.
Yeah, it really does.
It does. But yes, that's the idea. And if the top 5 that get the most votes for that specific audition get viewed by the director, and the director then chooses a winner to be part of the film, and it's just a speaking role. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a big role. It could be just a common role, or like a scene specifically that has a lot of dialogue. Or maybe a one-liner, I'm not sure. They don't really mention it, but yeah, I'd be appreciative of any support for this. It'd be nice to see this happen. So let us know if you did that. That'd be great, so I can just thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And you can let us know in the comment section.
Yes. Our Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook.
Yeah, pretty much. Awesome. Thank you very much, Oscar, for sharing. Now go sit down.
Oh my God. Oh, damn.
Just kidding. Before we get into this episode, want to just quickly throw out spoiler alert. Woo. You know where that's from, right?
You're right.
Wheel.
The way you switched it up, you went from a high pitch to a low pitch.
So yes, if you haven't seen it, well, like Oscar always says, listen to this episode. Or no, you say let it play.
Let it play.
While you're going to go see the film.
Yes.
And then come back and then play it again.
Yes.
That helps with our numbers.
Yes. Just saying. We're going to be honest.
I mean, yeah, let's keep it real. This is a Reel-ists podcast. Like, we ain't going to lie. We ain't going to front.
We want more numbers. We're not going to lie.
There's no shame in that. All right. So, Oscar, we saw a film called
like you're avoiding it. This past Friday, we saw a movie that stars Benicio del Toro. It's gonna go cover
and Josh Brolin.
Just cover it all.
Sicario. The
Not idea. Say it right. Say the title.
Well, I wanted
right.
to just say okay, fine. The title is Sicario: Day of the Soldado.
Perfect. From here on out, it would be referred to as Sicario 2.
Yeah, let's just keep it simple. Sicario 2. Man, definitely intense movie. What were your initial thoughts of the film? Mind you, we had just recently saw the first one.
Yes.
So we didn't have to wait too
Literally,
long.
like 24 hours prior to seeing that movie.
Yeah, we really did. I wasn't going to say that, but...
Why not?
I don't know. Yeah, let's just throw it out there.
You just said it with the realest part out there.
I mean, I wasn't... Yeah, okay, yeah. We did. We ain't going to lie. We saw it 24 hours before.
So, yes, we were on the Sicario hype train really hard.
Yeah, we really are.
Like, oh, that first one was great.
We can't wait to see the second one. Oh, it comes out tomorrow.
But yes, no, so my initial thoughts of it is that it is a very fun movie in the manner of it continues on with these characters that we got to know in the first one. It doesn't feel like a direct sequel necessarily. There's no continuing plot lines. It's just that these two characters for Josh Brolin and I was gonna say somebody else, but Guillermo del Toro.
Yes, Benicio del Toro.
Benicio, see, that's why I knew it. See, that's why I just combined Guillermo from Jimmy Kimmel Live and Benicio del Toro.
Oh my god!
Oh my gosh!
I didn't realize both of them are del Toro.
I don't think he is del Toro.
Wait,
he goes by Guillermo.
Oh, Guillermo. Wait, yeah, isn't it Guillermo del Toro?
Oh no, that's the director. That's
and
the other
then
director.
Benicio del Toro is the actor that we're talking about.
I was thinking of the Jimmy Kimmel Guillermo, but now I mention it.
I thought you were talking about the director. Okay.
Benicio and Josh Brolin's character are the only ones that continue the thought.
Yeah.
But yes, no, it is an interesting one. I personally still enjoyed the first one over the second one, just because the second one didn't feel like it was very planned out in terms of where it wants to take this story. It felt like it was another mission at first, and then it just switched up in the middle, and it became more of like a survival kind of story. And I just felt like the change was unneeded, because we kind of got a strong sense of who these characters are in the first one, and the second one doesn't really continue that. It feels like it kind of just makes them almost be like brand new characters to some degree, and that was kind of just a little bit iffy. And yeah, and I felt like it wasn't complete. I felt like this was really just the middle chapter, and I believe there should be a third one coming. There's no official confirmation of it, but
yeah,
it didn't.
It sounds like there's going to be a third one,
yeah.
And they left it open enough for there to be a third one. They didn't definitely or definitively close any doors on either Josh Brolin or Benicio del Toro's character.
But it was good in for what it was as a standalone. But in the Sicario franchise, is that we can now say, since there's two, wasn't as good as the first one for me. But that's just my initial thoughts. But I'm sure we're going to a detailed. What about you, Donnie?
I personally liked it. I agree in that. Whereas the first one, if we're talking about the first one, we were seeing it through Emily Blunt's perspective. Her name is Kate.
Yes.
So we were kind of just getting introduced to these characters, Josh Brolin's character, Benicio del Toro's character, the situation we were in, and the mission at hand.
Yes.
So we were and we weren't entirely sure about what was going on. We were just this newcomer coming on just alongside, Emily Blunt, and we were trying to
questions and
and we were just doing what we were told and trying to kind of piece together what was happening. And it seemed like, I feel like that was effective for the first one.
Yes.
With this one, you know exactly what's going on, like from the jump. They inform you right away. This is what we're gonna do. And then they start it, and we have this plan, but then our plan gets derailed. So then, we're like, oh, scratch that. Now we're on to this mission, and then we come to find out that, I feel like this second film took a lot of kind of twists and turns, not because they were trying to be clever or anything, but because it's like we had a mission, but oops. That didn't work out, so now we got to go with this plan, and everything's kind of just impulsively happening,
Yeah, and outside of the two main characters, the development for a lot of the characters did not feel like it was really progressing. It felt like they just stayed the type of character they were in the beginning. specifically the two kids actually. One's a teenager. Well, no, I think they're both teenagers.
I think so.
Yeah, the two teenagers, and I don't know if you want to say the bad guys, but the ones that were still part of the getting immigrants across the border. Those characters just felt very stock. Like I didn't feel like they were actual characters. Well, compared to the first one, I felt like every character that was in it that at least had speaking roles felt like they were realistic in the sense that I can believe that there's someone like that. And the other one felt like it was more stereotype of like, oh, you have the person that's only in it for money, and therefore they don't really care about what's going on. They're just getting their money. And even though that might be the case in real life, that there are those kinds of people that have that personality or have that mindset, when you're making a movie, I feel like you have to just change it enough where it's effective rather than trying to portray it too realistically, because then I feel like it's just a stock character that's just there to help get the plot going forward rather than I want to say a conflict, but an interesting distraction that adds to the movie rather than just like sidesteps.
Right. And so with this one too, so we had initially from the beginning of the movie, we were with the characters. They were on basically this mission to start a war between two major Mexican cartels.
Yes.
So that was like that's what we were like, okay, that's what's going to happen. That's the plot. And then they had this kind of other like subplot of this young Mexican American who I guess had family on both sides of the border, and his older cousin kind of persuaded him into joining him and making money in basically working to illegally smuggle immigrants in the country. So we had that going on. And then at some point in the film, we had this teenage daughter of one of the cartel bosses, and she basically ends up getting kidnapped by Benicio del Toro and the team, and it was like, okay, they're trying to interweave all this somehow, and I'm sure it'll all come together in the end and make sense, and they kind of did, but I feel like there was just a lot going on, and that was one of the main I guess critiques of the film. Like there was, as opposed to the first one, where it was like there was one focus, and we were it was all kind of coming, like funneling together towards the end. But like this one, like I said, it was like, the whole cartel thing, like that whole plan got messed up, and then they threw in some like, jihadist, what's the word? Like terrorists, basically.
Oh, yes.
The terrorists, there was these like Middle Eastern terrorists that they threw in there because they were thinking that those terrorists were smuggled in from Mexico, but it turns out, oops, they weren't.
They were.
So then it was kind of like, right. So then it was kind of like your main assumption, which is why you guys started on this mission, was wrong. So then it's basically, you're like, well, now we gotta cover our tracks. Yeah, we gotta clean the scene.
Yes.
So then they were like, Josh Brolin got orders to take out Benicio del Toro and that little girl. So then it was, I don't know, it was just like it was a lot going on. And it's not that it wasn't like it was bad or it was stupid or didn't make sense, but I just feel like they could have like cleaned it up and focused it more like on
going off the premise of the title too, that it's, about a hitman. The first one did feel like this. As a hitman, you have to go through these steps. You have to go through these motions of killing people without really having that like personal feelings towards it. Like you're not getting your emotions caught up. It could be a driven motivation as a factor into going into doing the hitman job. But this second one, even with the additional title of Day of the Soldier, I just feel like this one didn't feel like it was a representation of that title itself. This one just felt like more of someone that was doing a mission and then got caught up and things changed and then they had to think on the spot, which, yes, that might be some cases for hitmans in that scenario, but it wasn't even like the entire movie was that kind of like on the spot running. It would make sense if like the first 20 minutes they were setting it up and then after that the everything goes wrong and then from there Benicio del Toro has to improvise the entire movie. Then that would be a different story. But this one was kind of like a complete first half. And then the second half was like, oh, well, you know what? Now we have to kill you. Well, I'm not going to let you, good luck. Try to kill me. I have to get you safe, little girl. And, it just added a different element that didn't feel like a hitman job anymore. Mm-hmm. Just felt more of like a well trained person that is just trying to escape their situation.
Right.
But like I feel like as a hitman, he would have been like killing everyone. He would have been like boom boom, like we're not stopping, keep going. You know, I feel like it would have been like a cliche action movie to some sense.
And another thing that surprised me too, it's like in the first one, Benicio del Toro, when he got to one of the bosses of the cartel towards the end, I'm gonna spoil it if you haven't seen the first Sicario film, guys. When he got to the end, and there was a boss sitting with his family, he killed that whole family. Like he killed the wife, he killed the 2 kids, and they were, you know, relatively young, no problem. So this one, the girl that was kind of by his side throughout the whole film, her father was also responsible for the death of his family. So I don't understand why he was so okay to kill like kids, I guess, teenagers in the first film, but like he felt like he had to protect this girl in the second film. And maybe it was because she was a girl, and maybe he saw his daughter in her, something like that,
right.
Some connection there.
But
I don't know.
Yeah,
it just kind of
I can understand.
It didn't make sense to me. Like, you were so willing to do whatever it took, you know, in the first film. In this one, you're trying to take on more of like a fatherly kind of task for the, you know, a role for this girl who.
And I can understand if even if it's that kind of like, oh, I realized my mistake was I was too bloodshed driven, that I just wanted revenge and I didn't think about what I'm actually creating. Because I think that was like one of the themes is like in doing what your job is, you're actually creating more soldiers in the future or something like that, because you know you're killing families and you're putting other people in that very same spot that you were in that drove you to be the hitman. So like I understand those kinds of realizations, but it just didn't explain the actions before. It would have explained the actions moving forward if like on the third one, then he's like, well, no, I have to do this different because I've been messing up the last few times. But I felt like he made that realization. It didn't feel authentic. And then they try to be like, that's the theme, guys. That's the theme of this movie. And I didn't land in the way it should have.
Yeah.
For that particular reason. So that definitely was something that did distract me as well. And to me, even the part in terms of realistic was when he was being like held and he was supposed to be shot, and he did get shot.
Like at the end.
But it was more movie luck where it was just in a spot that he can still survive.
Yeah, we see that he got shot in the head. We just don't know where because he had a bag over his head. But then come to find out, he got shot perfectly in the right, like in his cheek, and it came out the other side of his cheek, so it went through and through, I guess through his mouth, and he didn't die, which I thought it looked like he was dead, you know, like they left him for dead, and he didn't. So like movie magic, like he's still standing.
So that's then there's
which I don't entirely have a problem with because
he
survived. And I didn't want him to die.
And I thought it was like, because I remember telling you, I was like, this is part of it. This is it. He was, you know, that little kid, that teenager is Miguel is part of it. He's, you know, he's teamed up with them from that one scene because they kind of looks like they kind of foreshadow something maybe in the beginning.
Yeah,
towards the beginning. So that's why I was like, oh, it's part of it. It makes sense. You know, he knew exactly where to shoot him, and then you see that there was none of that like twist where it's like, oh, so that kid literally just shot him in the right spot for him to survive.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay.
Which is another thing that bothered me about this film. That character specifically, Miguel, played by Elijah Rodriguez. I felt like we talked about it so much, like right after we walked out of the movie theater. I felt like they were trying to. I felt like his whole like subplot was like, oh, he was a kid, you know, he's still really young, and he got persuaded by his cousin, like he got badly influenced by his cousin to join in this, you know, smuggling of immigrants, and, you know, was kind of like his innocence was kind of robbed from him, and he felt like he had no way other than to like go down this path.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'm supposed to feel like sorry for him because he was just a kid and he got badly misguided, but I don't, because as the character Miguel, he had no sympathy, no remorse for anything he did. They never showed throughout the film him kind of second guessing or questioning whether he should be doing this or not, or whether or anything. There was no hesitation about, you know, even when they told him when he was tasked with getting like actually smuggling the immigrants across the river, like, and they were like, treat them like sheep. They told him to treat them like sheep. And like he did, like he was like, let's go. And like they were crossing the river and one woman was floating away and he was like, leave her. And it's like his character Miguel was so willing to just jump into this, almost like he wanted to do this.
And it didn't feel like, but like there was no click that was like, I see why he wants to do this. Like there was no his family was threatened, or
like it seemed like he
lost
came
someone.
From, right. It seemed like he came from like a loving, like he had younger siblings. His mother was like, made him lunch to go to school and kissed him goodbye. Like it seemed like he came from a nice, maybe a lower work class home, but like a nice family.
Yeah.
And it seemed like he would have some like a better sense of like moral stature to him, but he wasn't.
The kid that was tasked with killing Benicio del Toro's character first and struggled had more.
Right. Right. Like you saw him, like he didn't want to do it. He felt torn. He couldn't do it. But he ultimately got killed himself.
But still, in that like span of seconds that you saw like questioning, hesitation, that was more development in this one character that had no lines, but we kind of felt like we understand that this is something new to him. But the other one, it was like a mixture of like, he's just starting to do this, but he's already at pro level. And I can understand when you have a natural skill set. So maybe like in a situation where he's just excellent at, shooting a gun, but to be like a complete almost soldier or hitman, I'm like,
yeah, like right off the bat.
Right. Like you still have to be trained into being disciplined. And like, was the exception only going to be if it was like his cousin in danger? Like if his cousin was about to get shot, would then he start to have emotion? Or is then he just going to be like, this is business? Like, it's kind of just like, what was the development with you? I don't know if this was the actor unable to portray those kind of conflicts internally that kind of displays without talking. That was kind of one of the things I noticed. I just felt like he had the same expression. It was just
the same like scowl on his face like throughout the whole film.
Yeah,
and it didn't. I'm like, why are you so angry? Like what?
Right. What if we're not being shown, unless his scenes got cut out, unless they edited it and we didn't get to see the full picture, but.
Possible, yeah.
But still, even the times that you have to give that character.
He played it one-noted.
Yeah.
Which, unfortunately, like I feel like he could have brought more depth to Miguel, but
yes, and it doesn't have to always be with lines, like reacting to your surroundings, reacting to your own thoughts as a character. Those things help to deliver the performance, rather than just, oh, let me talk when I have to, and then just stand back and wait for my line or wait for my cue to action. So I feel like that definitely was something that was not helping the movie, that this character that we were introduced just did not feel authentic and did not feel developed. Mm-hmm. It just felt like he was a plot point, and just like the cousin was the cousin was very one-dimensional of like, this is our business, this is how we make money, we're just doing what we got to do to make money. Rather than actually showing like, let me show you why this is a good sign. Like, this is a good thing you're doing. It was just more of like, you want money, right? Just do it. You got to do it. Don't worry. It'll be done soon.
Right. Or like nothing like, oh, we have family over here. Like, you need to help your people, or like something like other than money being the motive, like the motivator.
And to me, I'll be honest, they didn't feel like family. So that's like,
no.
And
if and that's another thing. It's like because I guess the cousin was supposed to be like all about the money and whatever, but it's like it didn't seem like his cousin was that bad of a guy to where he should be encouraging his younger cousin to come join him in this kind of work. True. Like, it's not like, I could see if they had made the cousin a little more like villainous, or his character a little more
willing to,
then it would make sense. But like, I feel like there was just enough room for that cousin to be a decent guy, that he would try to steer his cousin away from all of it.
And you can even see that with Miguel. It was just enough where it's like, I can see you being decent, so what's causing you to continue this, or what's causing you to feel like this is the right choice for you? Yeah, the movie just did not explain enough or show enough that made us understand that.
Yeah.
And instead, it was just, the reason why they were showing them was because when Benicio del Toro's character and the little girl he was watching, they had to come across, we had a familiarity of what they do and all that stuff. So it felt like the subplot just to set up that third act of like, now they encountered each other.
Yeah.
What's going to go on?
Right. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, those are, some of the bad things about the film. But, not to like completely like harp on the film entirely. I did really still enjoy it for the messes that it had. Obviously, Josh Brolin and Benicio del Toro are two really good actors.
They brought it.
I mean, I feel like their performances were definitely great, like really good. And I just really am into those kind of like militant films, you know, where there's a, you know, like kind of like those, you know, there's politics and there's military and there's, you know, action and combat. I really do like those. You know, it's kind of getting like, you know, Zero Dark 30 vibes a little bit. And they're just like, for me, I don't know. There's just something, film you can just sink your teeth into. And it's like, there's killing, there's shooting, there's action, there's like, you know, drones and airstrikes. And so if you're into that kind of stuff,
you still enjoy it. Yeah. And
I think it makes it, I mean, I think the movie at the end of the day was still very enjoyable and exciting and
yes,
you know,
it doesn't, it's not a bad movie in the way of you can't watch it because a lot of these things aren't making sense or you're not feeling it or that kind of way. The fact that we have two characters that we already know definitely helps this movie drive forward and not having to worry about them, but now focusing on the story and focusing on what their challenges are, because that's what gets you excited. Is now you're just like, oh, how do they, you know, handle this situation? Like with Josh Brolin kind of combating with his, I don't know who she was, like, but it was like
she was like
the secretary or something along those lines.
Was that like the DOJ? Was that all like Department of Justice?
Something like that, yeah.
Like that. But it was kind of like a higher up, like above him.
But then how he was saying, like, you know, we have to do this, or, you know, he knew what he was doing and he knew why it had to be done, despite the realizations of like, oh, maybe we don't have our facts right, or they're, you know, we were wrong. He still knew, like, he was like, you know, Benicio del Toro's character is a great person on our side. We need that. We need to keep pushing that. Yeah. You know, and he was against it, and he ultimately chose to help, well, not help, but necessarily, but make a choice that he felt was the best choice for both characters, the soldier and the girl that was being protected by Benicio del Toro. So, you know, it was like one of those kinds of things where it's like you understood the relationship between what they had on why he was hesitant to killing them, even though it was in order. But he was like, there's a reason why we still should have him. And some people that above that are not on the field, and especially since we didn't see this character from the last movie, she was just brand new in this one. So here she comes making this choice, and it's just like, you don't understand. You haven't been, you know, seeing everything that's been going on. You're just kind of concerned of this one particular mission. So,
right. You're just trying to cover your butt, basically.
Right. So it was nice to see those kinds of challenges, and they nailed it. Now, you know, I felt like they definitely delivered on their performances. So very good in terms of the overall story. It's very nice, and it moves these characters along. It just didn't feel as clear and as like processed for the story, though. That's where it comes. But it is entertaining. You still have your reactions. I know the supermarket scene that saw the explosions, that was like, you know, it was hard to watch, and at the same time interesting to watch, because you're just like, whoa, this is what a terrorist can do, you know, anytime. So those kind of things where it's like, it did provide those reactions and those, you know, making you want to see more of like, okay, now what do we do with this, or how do we handle the situation? Oh, now we're in Mexico, you know, how do we make sure we stay safe? Oh, Mexico is police officers are shooting at us. You know, it did definitely have those moments that still get you interested, and you do have those reactions too. So that was good.
Yeah, and I feel like even with the first one I felt was a little more gruesome.
Yes.
There were a lot more like dead bodies and hanging bodies and limbs cut off and that kind of stuff. And with this one, there was, you know, like killing and stuff too, but it wasn't as grotesque as the first one.
The first one felt like it was more trying to set the tone.
The first one even felt
realistic,
and it felt like, I mean, it was kind of like, I mean, like horrific, like kind of horror aspect a little bit to me, like the first one,
of what you actually may see in real life.
And to think that this stuff really could happen, really does happen, has happened to people, and it was But this one, it backed off a tiny bit on that whole, you know, gruesomeness, but in terms of the action and the you know, the combat in itself, it was still there. But what did you have, like a favorite scene from this one?
That one's a good one.
Or like a takeaway?
I think my favorite scene of this one was when they were trying to deliver the girl and, you know, switch back to Mexican custody, and it went wrong from there, and it was just pretty cool to see
when the Mexican police turned on
them and tried to kill them all. Mm-hmm. Yes, it was nice to see the change of them overcoming that and still winning, even though it was a bad public image to see like U.S. military men killing police officers from Mexico. Like it was nice. It was nice that it played that approach, but it was just a nice scene the way it was like, because I remember just them going through the sand or in the dirt. No, not turn the dirt. And you're just like, I can't see anything, and you're just like, they're gonna get attacked because they keep like, they keep kind of foreshadowing that we're clear. Are we clear? What, is there anything in the sky?
Yeah.
Oh, we have a vehicle approaching, blah blah. And so you felt like that at some point something was gonna happen, and then when it happens, you're kind of hoping that the characters survive that you're rooting for, and you just hope it's a good outcome on or at least for our characters more so than anything else. But so yeah, I enjoyed that part. That was a good thrill. If you want to say.
For sure, there was a lot of scenes. I can't sit here and name them all, but that I really really liked. But I'll just throw out two. One of them was that scene that you're talking about, but I don't want to say the same thing. But one was when they were basically when Benicio del Toro and the girl were like trying to basically I guess get across the border, and they were like kind of fleeing and trying to find refuge, and they came across that guy who was deaf, and his family, and they lived like in this like little shack in the middle of nowhere.
Benicio del Toro just happened to know sign language.
And we were like, yeah, he started signing with them because the guy couldn't talk, and I looked at you, I was like, so he knows sign language all of a sudden? But then they said that his daughter was deaf, so that's how he knew. And I just felt like that was like a tender moment, and it calmed things down. It wasn't like it definitely was one of the slower scenes of the film. But like I feel like it's what kind of we needed after seeing everything we saw up until that point to get kind of like an emotionally riveting, slower paced scene, and it gave us a little more backstory to Benicio del Toro and a little more insight.
Despite the little plot convenience, if you want to say,
yeah,
but yes,
I mean it was. But if you can overlook that, I really liked that scene, and also another scene that was just kind of like mind-boggling, not boggling, but kind of blew my mind was kind of in the beginning when the Department of Justice brought on Josh Brolin and basically said, this is what we're going to do, and we kind of need you to get your hands dirty. And they were basically saying, but you do know if this goes sideways, basically he basically said, if this goes sideways, it's going to be on you. We can't be involved in it, right? So that kind of blew my mind too, because I'm like, dang, like, is this really how the world works? Is that really how like politics works? Like, you do what you got to do, and it's like whether it's right or wrong.
Yeah,
and like people with that, and that.
And if it succeeds, you don't get the credit, and if it goes wrong, then you get the blame.
Yeah, it's like that was just like, dang, like that was intense. So, but anyways, this film had a lot of great scenes. So final real score, what would you give it?
I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5.
Okay.
It's entertaining. There's nothing in the sense that it's a movie I wouldn't recommend, especially if you liked first Sicario. It's just a nice follow up. Not as good as the first one in my personal opinion, but it still continues on with these two great characters that we saw from the first one, and it's just an interesting story of like what happens when the plan doesn't go the way it's supposed to. Because the first one kind of felt like the entire movie went well the way it was supposed to. This one kind of felt what happens when it doesn't. Yeah. Didn't execute it as well as I hoped it could have, but it was still nice to see it. And again, it's just more continuing of this is some people's actual situations where they have to get out of tough spots, or they're just trying to make it for another day. And so it was nice to still see those themes being pushed in this movie. But yeah, ultimately I just feel like there's a lot of things that when I look back at it, I see myself saying, what was the reason for that? How did this lead to that? And that kind of thoughts. So yeah, 3 out of 5 would be my score.
Sweet. I'm gonna give it a 3.5 out of 5. I'm a little bit higher than yours because like I said, it was, for all the faults it had, it really, really was a very entertaining, very intense, political drama, thriller, really gritty, really raw. Kind of felt like I shouldn't be watching it. Like my parents would be like, "Don't watch this," but I still wanted to watch it because it was just really entertaining.
I can see the first one being more like that too.
Yeah, the first one for sure. But yeah, and 3.5. I'm giving it wow, I can't talk. I'm sorry. This is really hard to put into words. Like some of the things we discussed, it was a little all over the place, and it was a lot of like, oh, this didn't work out, so let's do this, or let's go this route. And who's to say? I mean, if that was intentional and they wanted the kind of more chaotic kind of plot, then that's what they got. And then also feel like the characters could have been developed a little more, especially that Miguel character. I just felt like that just was like a total disconnect, and like that could be the way it was written, that could be the actor, how he portrayed him, but I feel like that could have been done better. But other than that, like I said, a great film. I would totally watch it again. I really do. I'm kind of like thinking, oh, when can, because we got AMC and we got Movie Pass, so we could totally go see it again.
Check out our conversation of AMC Movie Pass.
Right? That was episode 52. Shout out to Movie Pass. Shout out to AMC.
In fact, go watch our first episode.
Take it all the way back from the beginning.
Go watch how we progressed from stuttering and not unsure of what we're saying to how developed.
We still kind of do that.
I think it's a little bit improved.
No, yeah, it is. It's a little bit more cleaned up.
Our thoughts are formulated rather than reactions.
That's not lying. But anyways, 3.5. That's what I give it, and I can't wait for Sicario 3. Once it gets confirmed.
Should Emily Blunt return?
That would be cool.
I feel like her story was complete though.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like it was complete, but if they could bring her back for some reason, if they could be clever and write something that would make sense as to why she would come back. Huh?
Daniel Kaluuya? What if he came back and not her?
No.
Damn.
I didn't really need him in
the first one.
Well, I mean, he was cool in the first one. Like, it was fine, but I wouldn't need him to come back for any reason. Like, but Emily Blunt, let's bring back. For sure.
You just want her in it. Not because the character makes sense to come back in, but
she's a great actress, all right?
She has a lot of projects, all right? She's a very busy woman.
She is. She really is. Shout out to Emily Blunt if you're listening. We love you. But anyways, that was our review of Sicario, Day of the Soldado.
There you go.
Or Sicario, Day of the Soldado. Soldado.
I felt like that was the best. Like, the first one was better than that.
Oh my gosh. Give me some points for trying at least.
I don't know. You said it right the first time, even as Spanish. Like, you still said the Spanish word right.
All right. Just like Ruben, edit this all out. So thank you guys for listening. Definitely let us know what you think. If you saw if you saw any of them, let us know your thoughts on them.
Absolutely.
If you saw both of them, share your thoughts. If you like the first one better, if you like the second one better, if you can't wait for a third one, what do you think the third one would even be about?
Yeah. Let's hear some fan fiction. Yeah, that'd be nice. Maybe in this something that they saw in the second one that's like, oh, I could see it going this direction.
Oh, well, speaking of, I mean, just throw this quickly out there. It ended with Benicio del Toro going to that Miguel that shot him, and he was basically like, oh, so you want to be a hitman? And let's talk. And then
I'm hoping that's going to be more of like, why you're not going to be a hitman. Like, more of just like, oh, I hear you want to do this. Well, I mean, I know the movie ends with the door closing, but I'm hoping it's more of just like, so you're not going to be a soldado. So you're gonna sit here, do your homework.
You're gonna go to school. You're gonna get on the right track.
Like that. I hope that it goes that direction. I don't see any purpose of this sidekick still like trying to be molded into a Sicario, and I just feel like it's I hope that would not be the third movie.
Well, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. So it has to be green light first.
True. We have to get a confirmation that there will be a third one. But anyways, awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Yes, thank you so much.